Parrish, if you can tell us about a time of where you had to deal with an emotional pain and how you've made it through that moment that you've had to deal with.
I would like to deal with the spirit of rejection. That was a number one for me. So I'm going to take it back to your high school. When you started off in high school, you was that little skinny girl. You was the one with all the pimples, black spots, the flat-chested. The boys didn't want you, but they wanted all the other girls that was putting out. So I want to start there, because see, sometimes the rejection starts in the beginning.
That's right. That's right. That's good.
So sometimes you're carrying that spirit as you're going on in life as an adult. So that once was me. That don't mean that's going to stay me. Because when they look at me now, I'm not the pimple. I don't have the black spots. I don't have all that, what you called and criticized and you made a joke at. Sometimes people making a joke at you, but they don't know that there's destiny for you. So even in that, with that spirit of rejection, as I got older and I left a job, now I'm out of high school, I'm grown, I've got a job, I'm trying to do my thing, and I meet a military man, and I'm going to travel. This man I've been with 4 years. 4 years. You want to marry me? We're going to get married. I leave my job. My grandmother, God bless the dead, her last words to me was, I hope he marry you because you gave up a lot. I gave up my job. I gave up my apartment, but I took my car that I pay a car note on. But I moved from Jacksonville and I moved to Virginia, but we stopped and lived in Alabama where his parents live. So when you got rejection still in you, you accept who you think want to accept you. That don't mean it's for you, but you accept it. You take the first thing that tell you you look good. You take the first thing that looks at you and say you're all that. But you see the red flags. You see the signs. He done cheated on me before. I done caught him many times prior before leaving. But because you still have rejection, I'll put it to the side because he want me. I won. So you think. So I left. We didn't get married. We supposed to got married in Virginia. So I told my mom, I'll just have a little small wedding on Valentine's Day. We get in Virginia, stay in Alabama first, live there with his parents and everything, still not married. You get in Norfolk, Virginia, get in an apartment that he's already there. He's already military. The first thing I'm thinking about, he got a check. The 1st and the 15th. The benefit package. This is what you're thinking about. That's the type of woman I am. I'm thinking about I got benefits. But them benefits going to cost you. Your soul, it's going to cost you more hurt than it cost you that paid out. So even in that, we're in Virginia, nevertheless, moving along. Here come February the 14th. The phone rings. I can hear him on the line. You're talking to another woman. At this time, you had landline phones. We didn't do all these cell phones like we got. Everybody got a cell phone. So I can hear you on the other line and got the mute button down. But I'm listening on how you telling her, I'll be there tonight. I got you. Don't worry about nothing. You telling her all that, I'm on the other end. I softly get off the line. You're downstairs, I'm upstairs. Now imagine how that feels. You gave up your job. You gave up your apartment. And mind you, I had a good job. I worked at Vistacon. And I'm in my 20s. I had a good job. So therefore, you hear that. Then you hear him dial out on the line again. Let him get on the phone. Hit the mute button. Now you're talking to your father on how you need to send me back to Jacksonville. You ain't told me about it, but you're telling your daddy about it. Your dad says, son, you need to go to that woman and let her know that you don't want to get married. Son, you need to let that woman know how you really feeling. This me in the upper room. You ain't got to tell me. I already know. So by that time, he hangs up the phone. I'm off the line. You come upstairs. Let's have a conversation. We have a conversation. He's sharing what he needs to share. I'm broken. I say, God, how did I get here? You talk about broken. But because of that spirit of rejection, you weren't obedient to the signs that was there in the beginning. But because that rejection, you wanted somebody to hold you, because you wanted somebody just to be there to say, I's here. I belong. But it's going to cost you. So needless to say, I'm the type of woman that I didn't want to come back to Jacksonville. I didn't want to come back to mama's house. I didn't want to let it be true what grandmama said. So I'm the type of woman, when he shared what he shared, not a problem. So on that day that we supposed to get married, I was filling out an application early in the morning in a state I'd never been before. So when you know that you're trying to seek God, now this is the time when God is already calling me and not knowing you're calling me. It's called the drawing faith. Because see, God will break you down so you only know it's God. So at that time, I went and filled out the application, make a long story short, did good on my job. My job said, if you do wonderful here, be a top person, we'll pay and transfer you. That's all I needed. But in the midst of all that living there, I was homeless because I moved out. I had to get out because he moved into his roommate. He moved in his boy. He had to have his boy there. I didn't know nobody. See, it's something else when you don't know people, but you got a personality that it doesn't matter. I'm going to meet people that can embrace me because I'm a good stock. I'm good ground. See, sometimes you got to learn how to courage yourself and look in that mirror and say, I will overcome this. I know who I am. You'll miss me before I miss you. That thing. So even in that, at that same job, I had a flea market sale of everything that I took there. Because, see, I drove down in a U-Haul truck, so I took everything I had. Even the folk and his roommate thought they was going to eat in. I just said, excuse me, that's mine too. So I took it to the job, and I had a flea market sale in front of the job. The managers knew. I thank God. God is working in everything that you do. And he worked through people, even strangers. He said angels. Be aware when you're encountering angels. You know, this right there. So needless to say, make a long story short, top salesperson at the job at that time. God allowed me to move with this young lady. I slept in a laundry room. Because when you're desperate, you'll take what you can get. So when she washed clothes and the dryer's on and I'm on a cot, that's how you sleep until that dryer and that washer is done. Then you can go to sleep. I slept right there in her laundry room. I took what I could. That lady don't know me. I said, ma'am, if you don't mind, can I sleep on your sofa tonight? Sure, go ahead. I slept on her sofa. After I slept on her sofa, another young lady I met at the job, she told me about another friend that allowed me to stay there. So therefore, I went from a laundry room to a basement. So I'm living in somebody's basement, but I got my box spring and mattress, and it's not even enough room to put a dresser in. But I still have my car. And I still got to pay a car note. So now I'm trying to learn how to take a balloon payment and take that payment and put it at the end, and then I can know how to pay it because I still got to survive and eat. So at this time, I'm trying to buy me groceries. Now, mind you, you still want to stop by. Oh, you still want to stop by. But because that spirit of rejection in you, every now and then, I weep for him. Because maybe he changed his mind, and maybe I could be accepted now. But you don't understand, you're in a basement. you ain't looking at your situation. And you in your situation because of that. But because of rejection make you lower your standards. And you still looking like, God, help me. So needless to say, I lived in the basement. I stayed there. This young lady started telling me about Atlanta, Georgia. Never been. I'm straight from Jayville, so I don't know nothing about Atlanta, Georgia. What's up? So you start telling me about Magic City. Oh, Magic City? Okay, what's that? He gonna drop it like it's odd. Really? You knew. You don't know, baby. You ain't never been exposed to that. My mom ain't raised me like that. But then after I find out what you're talking about, one thing about my zeal for me, I ain't gonna let you pimp me, then I can pimp myself. You ain't finna pimp me. So then after that, you try to get your baby daddy to come to pimp me because you start telling me about extra money because I'm paying you to stay in your basement. And while I'm paying you to stay in your basement, you still trying to call the boys to let them know this little fine little thing living down here. Y'all come through here. But after I get a revelation, because see, I'm going to tell you how God do it. Now I start going to service. Now I met a Velda Beres. God always got an evangelist that's going to tell you about God. God always got a ram in the bush. If you got an ear to hear, God will use whosoever that can sit at your job that you don't know that can tell you about Jesus. And I still, to this day, I thank God for that woman. Because that woman said, God got a purpose for you. God got a calling on your life. And I'm looking like, yeah, it's working, right? So even in that, I started telling her about the situation. She said, babe, I got to get you out of that. So her and another young lady at the job, this young lady, she was going through a divorce, her and her boys. She put me in her apartment. I had my own room now. See, some things you take for granted. And then when you start being homeless on the street, you don't take that for granted any longer. So you was appreciative of have a room by yourself that you can close the door. A bed that you can sit in and you can wash yourself. And you can go in the kitchen to and fro. She didn't treat me like a street. She treated me like a person. It's a difference. And you start appreciating that. But because the spirit of rejection was so strong and you felt so like, I just want to be accepted. But don't be wanting to be so accepted that you accept the lowest standard. I don't care who it is. Even me living in that room, I ate oodles and noodles for over 90 days. Because that's all I can afford. So even to this day, I don't like oodles and noodles, y'all. Don't even offer. My husband every now and then want to give it to my son, let him do it for a little while. Hey, stop, no more. I can't do it. But when I spirit of rejection and going to church, and I know not just going to church, I start becoming the church. I start going to seminary. I start studying who I was. I start studying that he loves me. God got purpose for me. So even when he rejected me, God said, but I embraced you. I've known thee. And I started learning who I am. And then when he started wanting to come to church, Miss Velda say, son, you come into church because you want to come to Jesus, but you can't come here for her. Because see, it's always going to be somebody to stand in the gap for you. When you're weak, they're strong. Don't come over here bothering her because God doing a work. And I start getting delivered. And I start just seeking God. I start praying God. And I was going to seminary class. I was going to Bible study. And I just start reading the word. And I start knowing who I am. And my job said, Francina, things came through to where we could transfer you anywhere you want to go. And I said, God, look at you working it out for me. So when he started working it out for me, I started moving. And then I moved all the way to Atlanta, Georgia. Then I got there moving with family and everything. And that too went left. You're back to square one. Homeless again? You're with family, but you feel homeless. Because now I'm in a room living on a beanbag under a bird cage. And his family. But don't eat my food. You have to buy your own. So when I start learning about who I am, mind you, I didn't give up on God. I said, this is going to take some things. Because, see, it's some stuff way down that you got to get way down and get way up and get it out. And I said, God, I'm not going to have the Spirit keep following me everywhere I go. So the more I went to service, I started going to Creflo Dollar. He taught me about finances. So I started appropriating my finances better. After that season was over, I was on a bishop loan. He taught me about evangelism. See, you called to tell somebody about the goodness of Jesus. Go and tell somebody how he kept you. Tell somebody how when you've been rejected by a stranger, even a family, and then now that I kept you and now that you done moving, I'm moving forward because due to time, I want to make sure you understand that God still put me in my own apartment. I eventually got my own apartment, but I was living on a box spring and mattress. I had a 13-inch TV that sat on a box, a cardboard box that I kept. But that's how I was living. I was going to work every day. Every day. People would look at me, hey, good morning, because that's who I am. You never knew what I was going through. If I had chicken, it was chicken and oodles and noodles. I was privileged to have that. That was a privilege for me. I don't know about anybody else. But in that season, I had to learn to survive, and I had to break every cycle. And where God kept dealing with me, breaking every cycle, breaking every stronghold, and I had to reflect back, I'm not who they say I am. I'm more than that. It's more to me. God, you're going to heal me. And the whole time I could have reached out to my mom. The whole time I could have called back to let her know. But because I didn't want her to know. Because I want her to know, your baby okay. Right. Mom, I can survive. I will call her in the snow at a phone booth when they had phone booths. And I would laugh on the phone. Yeah, mama, just talking about everything. She don't even know you homeless. So we could cover up with a lot. You could pretend with a lot. You ain't got to share a whole lot. But God will always expose just where you at. Because you know that hurt is still there. That pain is there. And it comes out when you talk, when you share. It shows. Because God always got a ram, that anointed one that'll stand right there and say, baby, come here, let me talk to you. I heard something in your voice. I heard something what you're saying. God will have somebody to sow a seed in your life. And that was the only piece of money you had. I'll never forget being at the altar at the church that I was in Virginia. I didn't have no money. All I had was pennies. And God said, give everything you got. And I'll make sure you get 100-fold. I emptied that wallet. And one thing about it, when I emptied that wallet, till this day, I've never wanted again. I've never wanted again.
My question to you is, how did you get past that moment of rejection? Did it affect your future relationships when you began to date other people? When you tried to move on with your life, did it affect your relationships? And how did it affect you?
It did. My husband now, in the beginning, by this time I'm back in Jacksonville. Mind you, this same gentleman followed me here. Wow. He followed me to Atlanta. He followed me to Atlanta, and I had to, because see, when you start getting delivered and you're knowing that God is in you, and he start building you up and you know who you are, then you stop selling it for less. Right. Then you can stand up to them and say, that desire no longer live here. I no longer desire you. I no longer want to be with you. Because see, when you start finding out I'm the queen, I'm the asset, I'm the good thing. See, the stronghold had already broken after I started going to seminary. I started going to ministry, and I was involved in it because I didn't date in between then. I didn't date anybody. Because see, sometimes you got to have a time to heal. You got to take that time to pull back and say, I'm not ready to go with somebody else. Because now they're going to pour over in them, and I'm going to make you pay for what he did. That ain't fair to you. So I had to learn how to go and eat the word. And that's what made me strong. But at the same time, when I met my husband currently, it made me so strong to where even he was in the word that I wasn't even fazed by it. It was like, yeah, you got the word, I do too. And what? You see what I'm saying? Sometimes you could be so strong to where you about to miss out what God got for you. So now you got to bring it down and like, but when it's God, the one thing my husband said to me, and mind you, me and my husband was only knowing each other 6 months before we got married. He said to me, I said, so if you think you're here for anything, because see, you got a shape, but at the same time, most men, that's all they want. But when it's a real man of God, he don't even want to touch you. He don't even see all that. And that's what my husband said. I said, I give you 6 months, I give you 30 to 90 days, you'll be out of here. He said, is that all you got? He said, I've been celibate over 5 years. Woman, I'm ready. When he told me that, and I looked at him, mind you, in the process, I left him as he was trying to court me, date me. He didn't come in my house. I left him on the front porch. Okay, how you doing? I didn't cook him meals. I wasn't Betty Crock. I wasn't finna bake you. I'm not finna give you my goods to persuade you. I'm the good thing. Because see, when you start getting in Christ and know who you are, I ain't finna fix you no meals. I ain't finna bake you no cakes. I ain't finna give you all the luxury and then you decide whether I'm the good thing. Though I already know I'm good. So stay on the front porch. And he stayed on the front porch. So when he come to visit me, you sit on the front porch. How old? How are you? But one day he came ready for the front porch. And my mom was living with me, and I was taking care of my mom at that time. And me being who I am, trying to be strong, I'm going to see how long this going to last, you know. This particular day, he said, close your eyes and just sit right there. I'm sitting on the front porch. I said, man, mind you, another thing, he come up to my house with a Toyota Corolla that's light blue. You know, I'm fresh from ATL now. I'm looking like, first of all, I know this ain't for me because you got this little raggedy car. First of all, you not ready for me. First of all, you got to come a little better. So that's my first thing I was looking at. But sometimes you got to stop looking at that outer, and your good thing may not come in the package that you think it's going to come in. So he pulls out, I sit on the front porch. This man pulled out roses. A bouquet of roses and a card. I couldn't even say anything. Because see, you've been on this road and traveling for God and you doing all this. You so strong, you in the word, you got the word. And it's just something just that simple that the tear rolled down my face. Because it's been a while since a man just gave you flowers and is trying to give you something else. He just gave me a bouquet of roses. He said, I just was thinking about it, just wanted to share. That did something to me. I had to go to God and tell God, help me learn to trust that this is real for me.